Hi there. Welcome to Tech Talk Weekly. I'm Bob from Creation Station. Are you going to be replaced by ChatGPT tomorrow? This is our weekly show where we talk about 3 or 4 interesting topics in the news, get you a fun library fact, and send you on your way in about 20 minutes. Today, I have Mr. Sheldon Burke from South Regional Library. How are you doing, Sheldon?
I'm doing great, Bob.
Sheldon is one of our head of adult services out at the South Regional Library, and he is my backup co-host whenever I disappear off into my vacation world.
You
How
take
how
those?
how are things going? Yeah, every once in a while. Every once in a while I do nowadays. How are you doing out there?
We're doing well. We're just preparing for Artlet on Saturday, so we're very busy and very hectic,
Yeah.
but things are coming back to normal. I mean, we're seeing a
Good.
lot of people come back to the campus here, so we're swamped.
Excellent. That being swamped is a good thing. I like
Mhm.
that. Let's get into this. This week, I am so glad you're here to do this one. It's all ChatGPT. It's all AI again, and let's cover the quick headlines here. And hopefully, this is going to be the last week of the hype cycle where all we can talk about is this. So we're going to kick off our headlines with how did this get here? How did we come here? And by the way, it didn't just happen overnight. This has been happening for a couple of years. It's just everybody wants to talk about it now. Do you take pictures of your lunches, or do you work in a restaurant that needs pictures of your lunches? They've got a brand new one to replace the people who would normally photograph your lunches, meals for you. Uh, Deep faking, redoing your writing, handwriting, not a font, but just like that doctor's scrawl kind of thing. It can create brand new scrawls for you. A couple of new things this week also on voice, where new things of being able to translate virtually live what an actor's language is and make the mouth move the correct way.
Hmm.
A new deep fake idea of being able to get celebrity voices, or you could have it say something in the tone or in the style of this celebrity. Um, ChatGPT can't be a lawyer. This is one of the more bizarre ones, I think. And finally, it's could ChatGPT actually do your job? So, Sheldon, highlighting all of those, I
Mhm.
want you to you're taking a class. You're in school right now. You're doing an AI class.
Yes.
Are you still being overwhelmed by all these types of stories, even though you're in that class?
No, I mean, it's kind of like expected. I mean, like you said, it didn't come out of nowhere. I mean, this is something that's been in development for a while. I think it just took people by surprise by how well it did, in quotes. It still
Yeah.
does certain things not so well. I think in I think at some points you can definitely tell. And I believe someone like made a counter AI to
Yeah.
predict when someone has written with Chat
Hmm.
GPT. So it's still got a long way to go.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And in fact, I think that's one of those. Let's go grab like this lunchbox one.
Mhm.
I think is perfectly good. As you go through and you start looking at some of these images and stuff like that. I mean, they're nice, they're decent. It's basically compositing lots of other pictures, redrawing, re-putting them together. You get to say what kind of food you want, what kind of background settings you want and stuff. It's nice. I don't think this is replacing
No.
people's cell phone taking a picture of the food right then and there, let alone you bring in a professional photographer.
No, I don't think so at all. I think I had an opinion that may have changed recently,
Tell us, what
but
was the original? Tell us.
the original was that things that involve creativity and things that require like human interaction are safe from any sort of like job replacement.
Mhm.
Because I mean, an AI can mimic certain things, but I don't think it can like create as well. Or certain things like you don't want like a robot comforting you. You'd want a person comforting you. You want a robot massaging you. You'd want a person massaging you.
Yeah.
So the more human interaction there is, the less likely it is to be replaced. is
Yeah, and I
my
think that
theory.
that's right. And we talked about that last week with how healthcare has been using chatbots, and
Mhm.
it's not pure AI type stuff, but it is pretty regenerative language models of just going out and like grabbing the right thing and watching for certain keywords, so it brings in a real human at that point. Uh, yeah, I'm kind of torn on where we're going to be going on this. I'm actually hosting a conversation tonight on a Discord about ChatGPT and how this works too. And my thing is, it depends on the language model that you're using. What's your data sets?
Mhm.
Something I know you're doing right now in school is how you design a data set, a story, because there's so many headlines already. I didn't put it in here. There's one from NPR where they had it try to build a rocket ship, and it just some of the various AI things just spectacularly fail. They're very cool designs with no place for the exhaust to come out.
Yeah.
So, or the equations are just all wrong because it's not trained on the scientific fact stuff. It's trained on just how to write, which is where this scrawling handwriting one comes in,
Mhm.
because you've been able to use fonts to do all of your different types of handwriting stuff for a long, long time. But it's still a font. It's still, block letters, and they can only do so much with kerning to make it all look more handwriting-ish type stuff. Whereas now they can just generate a scrawl. It's not duplicating anybody's scrawl. It's creating a brand new one.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, this is very much along the lines of, would you, uh, copying pictures from somebody kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But and also, by the way, everybody don't panic and say, "Wait, Bob, you didn't do it." It's there. It's put in the comments, putting all these links into the comment for you right now, so you can go back and follow up on all of these various links as we cruise around them. When they scan those pictures and they take the different pictures and synthesize them to put out something that's similar to, this is one of those neural networks that doesn't do that. This is creating a brand new one on its own. You can't define what it is. So do you think this is something that would last longer for you or not?
What do you mean by last longer?
To be more relevant for longer.
Yeah, because it's doing something original. It's creating something on its own. It's not just a poor imitation of something.
Yeah. And you can see here, you've got various things here on there. Calligrapher.ai is their website. It's in the links there for you.
I'm just trying to think
And
of the
yeah,
applications for this. Like,
so I can make a diary page look like a real diary
I
page.
mean, I guess,
I
yeah.
mean,
I mean,
my first thoughts were, "Hey, I can do this, and it's just gonna be there, and now I can do props for my game, or I can, create all sorts of different stuff, and it's not in anyone's writing." I can think of some nefarious things too, because my wife watches a lot of serial killer stuff, and I can see exactly where they'd wanna use this for, but, um, yeah, and again, that brings us to the voice tool thing, why we why we can't have nice things. Um Using, it was 11 labs, not the dogs, and they were doing a lot of different voice, uh they call it a deep fake in a way because you're pretending to be someone else creating it, but this company pulled their stuff down off the web. So I still put the links in there for the story and everything, but it's not a publicly available item anymore because they found out that people were, quote unquote, abusing their system,
oh, I can imagine.
and yeah, and creating things that they didn't feel were appropriate. That's not what their goal was for creating this engine, and so they pulled it down. Very similar to what Microsoft had to go through like 4 years ago when they first started with their chatbot AI stuff and things, where
Mhm.
they put it out, they find out, wait, we kind of screwed up, and they just yank it all down and be responsible about it. What do you think the ethics are of that? That's what I want. Like, one of the concepts I've been trying to think about is nutrition labels for
Mhm.
an AI, where it's like I'm gonna use ChatGPT here. I've got a nutrition label. These are the various language data sets that it was trained on, so that I know, oh wait, you don't even have any mathematics databases in this thing. Of course, it's not going to be able to give me correct stuff for my business calculus class.
Well, ethically, there should be at least a discussion about racial bias
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
in the data sets, because if some data set doesn't have, say, African Americans in
Yep.
it, it is not very good at predicting African American faces, or it might have a bias against them. Or if you use historically biased data like from police arrests, you may
Yes.
predict that African Americans are more likely to be committing crimes where it's not really the case.
Yeah.
So that is an ethical component. I'm actually glad to see that companies are taking down things when they're being used
Yeah.
unethically, because my thought would be we're all about money, so maybe it wouldn't matter. But I think people are being conscious
Yeah.
because it can have lasting impact.
So now, when you're doing in school, you're doing data set stuff. Have they started talking about that? I mean, I'm guessing they talk about the ethics of it, but of labeling it, of like, this is where we got our information from. This is the kind of stuff that we used to create this data set.
No, we actually did a paper on quite the opposite, that a lot of
Oh,
people
great. Thank
don't
you.
don't actually reveal what the data sets is. And in fact, I don't want to put anything on one of our employers, but Broward County actually used a predictive AI that gave you a score of your chance to commit a crime again. And so that actually affected your bail. And I believe ProPublica actually has an article about it.
Wow. I
About
did not know that. Is that by the
Yes.
Broward Sheriff's Office? Or
I don't remember if it was Broward Sheriff, but I know that when you got arrested in Broward, you would get a certain score, and the
huh.
higher your score, the more likely supposedly you were to recommit a crime, and maybe you wouldn't get the bail this time. But it was actually labeling people who never committed a crime before as more likely to commit a crime than someone who sold drugs several
Yeah.
times and been arrested
Yeah,
because they
because
were African Americans. So
uh
you definitely need to show your data
holy.
sets.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 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 yeah. And this is I'm gonna bring that up in my discussion tonight. Thank you, Sheldon.
Yeah,
That is
ProPublica,
that
I
is
believe,
yeah.
is.
Um, wow, just wow. The thing that I was mentioning before you just, like, made me stop altogether with that one, that stinks, man. How they use the generative AI to show how they could make it from various different things of language, implicit language, etcetera, like that.
Yeah. For the ethics of that, I almost wonder if we've already gone past that, because we had like Carrie Fisher,
Yeah,
her image being used. We have the holographic Tupac that comes from
yeah,
time to time.
yeah.
I wonder if we've already gone past that point where you don't really own your image.
I yeah. And for everybody out there who's saying, "Oh, wait, why would anybody want to do these things? It's just gonna replace writers, it's gonna replace photographers. We don't want this stuff at all anymore." I mean, vinyl records didn't replace concerts. You know, there's still, like you said at the beginning, Sheldon, there's still a reason to go see that human interaction, that human spark to go do. And I think that that's your proof that you really are an artist, is that you can transcend and show your spark.
I have a theory
Tell
that
me.
the deeper we go into this, the more there's going to be a backlash against it. So we've seen vinyl sales increase. I think people want more digital we get, the more analog people want, because it's different. I
Yeah,
mean, you want to balance it out.
yeah. And
Like,
they can't do a deep fake if you're sitting in the room with them.
yeah. Like personally, I am now going back to school for data science and computer science, and I write in a notebook. I don't want to be on the computer outside of have to do work. I want nothing to do with it. Just give me a book,
I've
please.
got my e-paper book right here that I write on, my tablet that I write on, not LCD, nothing, e-ink, so that I don't get the whole blue light thing, the whole everything.
Yeah.
Nope, just do it.
I'm blind
Disconnected from the
enough.
internet. Yeah, exactly. And about the going too far and sometimes going too far too fast.
Mhm.
The do not pay website, which is an interesting website that goes out to help people with traffic tickets, etc., like that. Here's how you file a claim. Here's how you do this kind of stuff. They had professed they were going to start using ChatGPT and some other AI things to do live assistance in the courtroom, because they found some particular courtrooms in the United States where you could wear an earpiece and you could like have your headphones in the courtroom, and so they were going to be able to feed you answers
Hmm.
live, as you know, you've got a microphone in front of you, you're talking to the judge is saying something, it goes in, that gets in, it spits back out its answer right away. Turns out, as some professional lawyers really start digging into this, it's not as easy, and it is definitely not as ethical, we'll call
Yeah.
it. And it is probably not allowed under the law currently in most places, because you have to actually be a lawyer to give legal advice.
Hmm.
And if you are giving someone legal advice in a courtroom, that's just another whole level of stuff. So it's not going to happen. This is another case of those. They withdrew it grudgingly, I think. You know, that they like really wanted to do this test, but they got shut down on a lot of it.
Now, would that apply? Is that just because it's law, or would that apply also for doctors? I
Uh,
don't know. Like,
yeah,
I don't
who knows?
like practicing without a license.
Yeah. How do you know who's on the other end of that chat bot?
Yeah.
I can't write you a prescription,
And
but yeah,
considering the stuff you find on the internet, honestly,
I
you
know.
probably do not want that.
I know. Last roundup bit here for you is, will you be replaced by ChatGPT effectively?
Mhm.
And this is one of those things of, people are talking about how, like you mentioned also earlier, about plagiarism and just being able to just take a paper and write it and submit it. And how would you know? And writing another AI to detect AI writing and all this stuff. And there is a growing number of teachers out there
Mhm.
that are saying this is a very good thing, that they like, that they're embracing this idea of ChatGPT papers and stuff like that coming in. They're not trying to ban it from their system. The first blush thing, a lot of people start to try and ban it. But they're saying, no, we want it in here because it will force students to be critical thinkers, because you're going to take this paper, you're going to have to re-edit it, recreate it in your own words to a certain degree, because you're going to have to fact check the paper and you're going to have to be able to do these things. And if you can't go back and read and do those things, then your skills as a writer are below par,
Mhm.
maybe farther below par than someone who just takes and writes it on their own.
Yeah. I don't see it as a tool to like write a paper or do the work. I think it's something to assist.
Yeah.
Like, say for example, I have not really done a lot of Python coding. I can just ask um, GPT, hey, how do I do this in Python? And it
Mm-hmm.
can walk me through and show me the code and tell me why. And
Yeah.
that's a great tool for me.
When I showed this to my wife, the first thing she did was start with recipes.
Oh, okay. She would.
And it just came up, and she was just like, she was amazed. She's like, she picked some obscure Puerto Rican dish, and it was just like, bing, this is how you do it, ding 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 ding. And some people like to do at this point, and she was just like, okay, wait a minute, I need to explore this. And she spent a couple hours just going through and doing. There's a tremendous amount of this stuff out there for everybody, but like I said, we're going to try over the next couple of weeks and stay away from some of these AI stories unless something really breakthrough happens,
Mhm.
because it kind of does inundate our the news feeds too much. So if you're sick and tired of AI stuff, we hear you. I hear you. But you have something else going on this weekend. You mentioned it at the beginning, Sheldon. Artlet. Tell us about this.
Yes, we are having Artlet on Saturday, February 4th. It's our free art festival. It's the sixth one, I believe, from the Broward County Library
Yeah.
System. I actually was there for the first one. I'm getting up there in age. Um, so this year, our focus is on Columbia. Every year, it's centered around our big read. So our NEA big read this year is on Infinite Country by Patricia Engel, and she is a Colombian artist. So our focus this year is on Colombia, but all ages, all ethnicities are invited. We have a bunch of programs. We are focusing on art, literature, virtual reality, chalks. We even have vendors out there, free food. Let me repeat, free food. Um,
Yeah.
and so this is taking place at the South Regional Broward College Library from 12 to 5 p.m. So we
And
hope to see you.
I'm just like down here with this. You just kind of slowly slip it in there. The Encanto read aloud with Maribel from the movie. It's
Yes.
like, this is serious stuff, folks. I mean, Sheldon and his whole team out there, Anitra, who's in charge out there,
Mhm.
they've done a really good job of pulling this together and making sure that there's something that's going to be happening and exciting over the day. So you got to come out and see us. I will be
Please,
there.
for sure.
I'll be out there with the virtual reality and walking you around inside of Columbia. Oh, there's some beautiful little villages that we went through.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I was out there for out at Southwest Regional for a big read program last week, we found this back street where all these dogs were just following the Google cameras around to do stuff. So it was really funny for that. Let me throw up our final slide. Again, thank you, Sheldon, for being here. For anyone, if you want to see a particular story covered on the show, let us know. Or if there's a favorite librarian or library you'd like to see, reach out. creationstation@broward.org. We'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, Bob.